Welcome back. This is episode 2 of the Cyber Phoenix DFIR and Technology Podcast. My name is Jesse, also go by Azul Onyx, and today we'll continue from the last session talking about xLEAPP, and today it's going to be over configuring the development environment. So this is going to be slightly complicated. There's a couple different things that I'm using to work with this. But as soon as you get set up, it should work fine. I will point out that most of this information will be located on the GitHub page in the xLEAPP repository, which I'm showing here. I will link to it below in the description. So you'll notice there are installations. This is how to install it for GitHub. But down here you'll see that there are a whole bunch. We'll go through the Windows side of it. If you do want to see the Linux side or potentially see it set up in WSL, just leave a comment below and I'll do a video for that as well. But I'm basically going to go through all these steps and then show how it works. There are some, I'm going to go through some slides, and then we're going to move into actually showing you how to do it in a virtual machine. Alright, so let's so again, as I stated last time, this is actually development purposes only, should not be used in actual cases, but be free to test it out. Let me know if there are any issues and post on the GitHub page. Link that will also be linked again in the description below. Alright, so this is going to be a full dive into development of how it's set up. So this might be a little outside some people's purview. If you do want to help with development or do want to add in artifacts, you probably want to do some setup similar to this to test your artifacts. In another video after this, I will do specifically how to set up the configure the artifact, run it, and test it. In this video, the only thing I'm going to actually go through is how to do the development environment itself, and later on I'll do the artifacts. Alright, so there's a couple things you're going to need. And don't start your indexes at one. But anyway, you'll need Visual Code Studio is what I'm using. You can use whatever IDE you want, although I will be using that in here. Python 3.9 at least. You could probably use 3.10. Haven't tested it, but you're more than welcome to try it. Git, Poetry, Make, download it from the link listed here on the slide for specifically the Windows 32 ports. If you're using Linux, you can just install Make normally as you would do for any of your flavors on any of the package managers. But again, Python must be 3.9 or higher. I know 3.10 is out. I have not tested 3.10. Alright, we're going to start with the Visual Code Studio installation, which is going to be pretty quick. All of the installations are fairly painless and easy. If you already have software installed, you can go ahead and skip this part and just use software as long as it matches the information on the previous slide. So let's get right over to it. Alright, so I'm going to be using this virtual machine to do all the installation. Well, this is a Windows 10 machine. It's been fully upgraded. It has all the patches. No, I'm using Edge here. For whatever reason, Firefox has some weird issue with the top bar being missed and some other stuff. Oh, excuse me. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use Edge real quick for this demo. Choose Windows. And then I'm going to wait a few minutes, or just download it immediately, apparently, in this case. Go ahead and open it. Select user agreement. I'm just going to install it in the default, but you can install it anywhere you want. I'm going to create that, create a desktop icon. I'm going to check these two as well. And then let it install. Now some of the other options I'll be choosing as we go through here. You may not want to do them. It's just some of I just prefer to do. So it opens right up. We're actually going to close this a second. And go back over the slides. Next thing we'll do is the Python install. This is the same, kind of the same thing as the Visual Studio's install. So we're going to go over here. Kind of do the same thing. I'm actually going to go ahead and install 3.9. If you want to install 3.10, you're more than welcome to try it. So we're going to do the executable installer. And run this as well. Choose add to path. I'm going to do customize. I always like to check other options. I'm going to go ahead and leave all this fine. You can solve all users here if you want to. You can do debugging symbols. Actually, let's go ahead and do debugging symbols. And then the debug binaries, sure. I mean, we're going to be debugging anyway, so let's go ahead and download those. Next, yes. And we're going to let it install. I really should get some Jeopardy music. The other thing I'm going to also disable the path length. I choose that button there. Okay, close. And it will go away. Alright. I'll close this window. And we're going to go next. So for the Git installation, this is almost identical to the previous one. Well, I'm just going to go. Oh, I can't help. Go here, go download, Windows, and then apparently Edge decided to help me out here and started downloading for some reason. Don't necessarily like that. Didn't click a button, but it download files? Really? Anyway. And then do the install for this one. Next, get defaults. I'm going to add the bash profile as well. That's fine. Here I'm going to change it to Visual Code Studio as Git's default editor. And next, I'm going to change it to main. I prefer to use that. That's fine. What else fine? The rest of these are fine. I'm going to take the rest of the defaults. Uncheck the box, hit finish. And then that would be Git. Back over here, we're going to continue. Now we use Poetry next. Alright, this one actually requires us to run a command. And I'm actually going to go grab that command real quick. Alright. So over the VM, I am going to open a PowerShell. Oops. It needs to be open with admin rights, so we'll elevate it. And then the command that's listed on was listed on that slide, which is this command right here. Is the command I typed in the VM. Well, copied to the VM rather. Make sure you check all these scripts. This is going to pipe directly into Python. If you haven't checked it out, go out to the GitHub page and check and review it before you do this text part. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to wait for it to download and configure. So Poetry is what what I'm using for dependency management for xLEAPP and all of its plugins. You could use other things. Pip is just very, very hard at doing some things and keeping stuff updated. So I decided to go with Poetry itself. There's just a few nuances with it, but this is installed now. All right, let me get rid of this one as well. And that's Poetry by itself. We'll verify all these as soon as we get done with the rest of the installations. So next is going to be Make. So Make is an interesting way to install it. There's a few things we're going to have to do to get it to install. Let's see. All right, so here you can actually download it from this URL here. And then you're gonna actually, from here, you're actually going to, I'm gonna create a folder that's here, C Tools, GNU Win32 bin. All right, don't use the default location, which would be here. You want to use this. There are issues with it, and it will not run correctly. And then we're going to add the system path as well. After we do that, we're going to run this other command right here, so we don't have to reboot. So, show the VM. All right. So first things first, I copied the URL for the download. This is a pretty quick download. Yeah. Open this. I'm going to extract it. To here. And here you're going to have several folders. Alright. Alright, after you do all that, we're going to right click, hit cut. And we're going to go C drive, create a folder, tools. Go into tools, and then you're going to paste it here. And from here, you're going to rename it to like that. Alright. So that's the first part. So it's tools. If I click here, then I have the Make right here. Alright, from here, you're going to actually right click this PC, go to properties. Scroll down, there's advanced system properties. If you have a higher resolution computer display, you will have this over on the right. I've actually got this blown up a bit, so it's going to be down here on the bottom. Alright, so environmental variables. You can actually modify either the user variables for this particular user or system. I'm only logged in. I've only got one user on this computer, so I just Either one works. I'm gonna do the one up here. So you're gonna hit new. Whoop, yeah. Oh, and then you're gonna go path, edits. Sorry, my fault. New. And then you're gonna type that. So I'm gonna have one more. Poetry as well. Alright, so you're gonna add one for make and one for poetry. And oops, if I can spell user properly here. Alright, there you go. Alright, hit OK. Hit OK. And then hit OK. Alright. Close this. Now at this point you could actually do one or two things. You could either restart the computer. Actually not going to do that. I'm going to copy this command. Alright, and what that's going to do is actually going to take the changes we did and merge them back into your path, so you have all the proper path stuff. And then I have to go back to slides here. So we ran this bottom command right here. Now we're going to verify all the tools. Make sure you verify all the tools work before continuing. And most of the time you're running like a -H or a V, something to either get the help or get a version number to make sure that it works. All right. So back over here. All right. All right. So Python works. So Windows is kind of weird. So you could actually do Python 3 as well. If you do on Python 2, you would actually could do 2 here and then run Python 2. I don't have 2 installed, so obviously I can do that. All right. So that actually didn't work. Didn't actually install. Alright, well, let's go. We'll go back to that one in a second. B, that one works. H. Whoops. H is what I want. There you go. Alright, and in VS Code, you can do it by clicking the icon on the screen. You also do it with command code. So as there's some issues with poetry, so right now it's actually working. So what you can do is, if it doesn't work as it did previously, if you do like this and add double dash uninstall, this will actually remove poetry for you. And then just do a reinstall of it. Not exactly sure what happened, but it was really weird. It does tell you right here what you need to add to your path. Now this particular version also says deprecated. I will have to update the information in the markdown document as soon as I get a way to pipe this in one command. Right now it's downloaded a separate script, so I'll have to come back and fix that. Anyway, as you do that, and then whoops. And then it shows it works. This is alright. So that's the end of the installation phase. Alright, so next we are going to continue with the installation of xLEAPP itself. This will be the development mode. You can do this 7 times if you like, or just once. It's up to you. Alright, so the first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to clone the repo. So let me close this Windows here. Alright, this window. So actually, I'm gonna do this on the desktop. So alright, so it's gonna clone. Alright, after it clones. Alright. Now, this is going to install your plugins. I'm only going to install the iOS one because that's the only one I actually have up on GitHub right now. But in theory, you should be able to install more than one. At some point, I'll update this to show the installation of multiple plugins. Alright. Oops. Definitely not what I want. Alright. Alright, from here, I can type here. And also note on this slide is that you're doing the plugins without xLEAPP in the front. So you're only listing the device type essentially, or non-free dash the device type. And then I'm going to enter. Alright, and that will create the xLEAPP iOS plugin. Alright, now I got Poetry, and it's just a simple install, or a simple make install. Now, all these commands after you clone to GitHub are done at the root of your GitHub folder that you created for xLEAPP, and it will configure all these. And each of these make commands are actually in a make script. You can modify and look what they're doing. Shouldn't take too long to do this, but you know. Apparently, this will take a little longer than it usually does. There it goes. Now, Poetry already sets up your virtual environment for you. You don't have to do that. One of the benefits of using Poetry. If you were to install this directly in the information while it's doing this, you're going to notice that it does something slightly different. Alright, so this top part, it's going to have you install what's called pipx, which is another tool to manage your virtual environment for Poetry. And then you install Poetry, and then you can and then install, and everything else is pretty simple on here. Looks like it's almost done. Now, by default, I install Poetry this way, or install xLEAPP this way through Poetry. It's going to be in dev mode for you automatically, which is very similar to doing pip-e for an editable install. That's one of the reasons why it takes a lot longer to do this way than if you just did pip install xLEAPP from the repository, or from pypi for the packages site for Python. Give it a few more minutes. I think it's actually doing the plugin install. Again, you might actually have much faster speeds, and I'm not sure why it's taking so long. This is usually quicker installation than it's being right now. Not completely sure why we had a failure, but after I get done with this, we got a couple more things to do, then we'll come back and see if it solves that issue. Another thing to note about this as you're doing it, if you're developing iOS plugins, all of your edits should be in the xLEAPP iOS or xLEAPP-iOS repository, including any extra packages or applications you may need to parse the plugins. They're all appear there. They don't actually get directly added to xLEAPP itself. It's to segregate some of that information, and so if someone doesn't have iOS or not working on iOS, they don't have to install all the iOS dependencies as well. Alright, so I finally finished. And then we're going to go back to slides real quick. Alright, so there's going to be one more thing we need to do. This is not done automatically, but maybe in the future I'll go back through and do this. But this is add in xLEAPP iOS as a development package. So easy if I just pull it up here. All right. So down here, what it says path equals, what you're going to do is do equals true. Whoops. And this will set it as a development. So if you're editing inside of, you have the xLEAPP folder open in VS Code, you can actually edit these packages directly, and you don't have to reinstall them. And then I'm just going to close this. Then over here, you're going to run make update. What? My slide is wrong. Make package update apparently. So this is actually running poetry update in the background. Oh, wait, doing that real quick. Just make file right here. If I open it up, I don't know what keeps saying that every start. Heck. All right. So the other thing you can do is you can run this right here, which you can do in a second. So this keeps failing. I was doing this earlier, but it's not normal. That's weird. Alright, so oops, that's not what I want to do. Over here. I want to check. So it actually installed it here. It wasn't installed for some reason. I'm actually going to remove this so it doesn't need to be in here. And then we're going to do make update again to make sure that there's no weird issues with the, or make package update rather. Make sure there's no other weird issues with it. And then we'll do check plugins. Alright, so if you do have an issue, you need to get errors with any of your package installs, you can try installing them manually, with dependencies, and then just make sure you go back into the project, the Python project toml file, and actually remove those. Well, it errored again for some reason, even though it's already installed. We'll see if it works. That's weird. Alright. Alright, so you run this one, you're going to get the plugin name. Now it's not going to show you every artifact in those plugins. It's just going to say, hey, these plugins are installed. So it's going to show you right now the only one I actually installed is iOS, so it shows iOS only. All right. So I'm going to go back over here. So this should say make package update, not just make update. I forgot to switch screens. Right here should say make package that pkg dash update. Just be aware of that. Alright. So that would be the completion of xLEAPP. However, what's the one thing we need to do? Verify. So let's go back over here and make sure that well then. Oh, right. So to verify that, I always get ahead of myself with this one. So poetry, shell. All right, and now it should work. There it goes. All right, so poetry shell just opens the virtual environment instead of poetry. That's what happens when you're short on coffee. Anyway, it opens a virtual environment. So then from here, earlier I did code, so you do code period, and then yes, I trust this author. All right, sure, go for it. All right. So now we have your plugins and the source. Now I'm going to do another video on the extensions and setting up VS Code the way I have it. But this will get you at least set up to modify the project, and then go from there. I will say one thing before you start, if you have not, there's one extension there. Alright, so you'll need at least this Python one before you start actually doing any type of development. Otherwise, you won't have all the development tools for Python installed. And this is directly integrated into the IDE as well. Alright, so I'm going to leave it there, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them in below. I will link to all of the installation stuff in the description, and you can like, subscribe, and share the video if you found it enjoyable. If there's anything I can do better, let me know in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitter at DFARPhoenix or at AzulOnyx, which is my personal one. And see you in the next one.